Hi ladies, happy Sunday, happy Super Bowl Sunday. I'll give you guys a second to log on here. I'm a couple minutes early. And looks like I need to shut my blinds a little bit. There we go, that's better. Okay. Hello, hello. Once you're on, say hello. Let's make sure I'm live in our Facebook group. Cool. We're live, in action. Give you guys another second to come online. Let's see how many people are watching the Super Bowl right now. I tried to do it at least before the halftime show. That's the part that I like. Happy Super Bowl Sunday! Hi, Wendy. Just giving you guys a second to hop on here since I was a couple minutes early anyways. I didn't want to mess you guys up too much and go live like 2 hours earlier. Just in case people were already planning at this time. If you guys are watching the Super Bowl, are you eating any delicious food? Any autoimmune paleo food? Anything fun? Let me know. Some of you might have seen too, I took over the autoimmune paleo Instagram account this past week. I just posted my last post a couple hours ago, but I was able to take that account over for the last 7 days, and that's always fun because it gets me back to my roots of cooking on an autoimmune paleo diet, 100% elimination phase, and we'll talk more about food as we get closer towards the second half of this book, but it was fun to kind of experiment in the kitchen this week and just, again, get back to those roots of cooking in a way that's really anti-inflammatory and healing for the body. So we're going to talk about chapters 5 and 6. Let me pull up my notes here. Cool. Okay, so chapter 5 was all about avoiding againstness and choosing not to identify with your illness, but instead to send love to it, right? So not to say that I am MS, or I am Graves, or I am Hashis, or I am celiac, or I am X, Y, and Z, but instead to drop that identification with the illness or the disease or making that your label, and instead sending love to it, right? So she also talks about disease not being the enemy, and that's all about, it falls in line too with sending love. Instead of it being the enemy, it's something that you choose to love and to come into cooperation with. So if you have your book in front of you, you can open it up. Hi Kathy, welcome, happy Sunday. I'm glad some people decided to step away from the Super Bowl. We don't even have cable, so it's actually not on at our house. I think we're going to go see some friends in a little bit, but it's definitely not on here. Okay, so warding off this againstness, she says, instead of saying to yourself that something is wrong and I'm going to fix it, and therefore aligning yourself with what I call againstness, I'm asking you to love it, love the disease. And so when you ladies are faced with adversity or challenge, or when you got your first or second or third diagnosis, I'm curious to have you answer, and I asked this to my other group earlier this week, the 21 Days of Healing, but I want you to answer, how do you handle that challenge or adversity? And let me know what emotion you react to that challenge with. When you were diagnosed, what was your initial emotion? And so some of the common ones would be worry, anxiety, fear, avoidance, anger, frustration, stress. And so let me know how you most common handle that challenge or that adversity, and comment in the box below. Kathy, she did step away, happy to be with you as a practice. Yes, awesome. It'll still be there in 20 minutes. It's good to have maybe step away from a little bit. Plus, I can't handle the energy of like huge events like that. I get like really overwhelmed by them. Hi, Stephanie, welcome. So I'm just asking you guys, I just asked the ladies who are already here, how do you handle challenge? No, it's fine. You're here. It's awesome. How do you handle challenge or adversity? What emotions come up for you? Is it fear? Is it anxiety? Is it avoidance? Is it frustration? Wendy says, with her first diagnosis of RA, it was shock, but I worked through it pretty well. Great. What did you initially do, Wendy, when you were diagnosed? Were you seeing a specific kind of doctor? Did you change any sort of dietary things? But what, not just on an emotional level, but on an actionable level, what else did you do? And she says, 10 years later, the food allergies materialized and other problems, and I got angry. Yeah, so anger might be one of the emotions that comes up for you when you do face that challenge or that adversity. So keep letting me know, what is that emotion? What comes up for you? So, and I can use some examples as well. So I know when I was first diagnosed with celiac as a 24-year-old, it was more disbelief, or avoidance of. So I was like that celiac who decided that, okay, I'll cut out most gluten and I can still have a little gluten every once in a while. That's very much so not the case. And I learned that the hard way by having like an occasional piece of Domino's pizza and then feeling horrible. And eventually I learned my lesson. But it was very much so disbelief and avoidance of, I don't want to change my lifestyle. I like my lifestyle the way it is. And like knowing that it was going to be really hard at first to start this journey and really start to change my lifestyle. So it was definitely an avoidance for me. And Wendy says, after all those years, I've experienced every single emotion. Yes, I believe that as well. With RA, I saw a rheumatologist. He was great. Cool. Saw him for 5 years, then shockingly went into remission. That is also awesome. Haha, with the cutting out only some of the offending foods. Yeah, I mean, it was a disbelief. It was like you're not welcome here. Like, disease was not welcome in my life. And so I was very much so trying to push it away. I learned my lesson though. Kathy, I handled diagnosis with shock first. Expecting my rash to result in an autoimmune diagnosis. Then, just like Jessica said, went into how many angles can I address this from. This love it thing got challenging off and on when my mind bumped this up against the law of attraction. If I love it, will I get more of it? I'm seeing now how it's leading me to way more self-love. Yeah, that's interesting too, because she talks a little bit about that. Like, if you're a law of attraction person and how it kind of flips it on its head in some ways. It's like, well, if I love my disease, am I going to get more disease? And if we're all trying so hard to have our best life possible, right? And so I think she explains it though in a really healthy and understandable way, which is that no, you're not asking for more disease. You are sending your love to allow it to be this teacher for you. Stephanie says, I was frustrated and felt hopeless at times because it took me so long to get diagnosed, right? That can be a very long journey for some people. I'm curious too, Stephanie, how long did it take you to get diagnosed? And then she says, I moved into warrior mode, like Jessica references. And yes, with my food allergies, gluten, dairy, corn, I had the same attitude that you mentioned, Sarah. Yeah, it's hard at first. It's hard. That's all. That's like it's not something that I've ever heard anyone say, oh, I just realized I can only eat 10 foods, or I can't eat 10 of my favorite foods, and it's fine, don't worry, you know? I think that we all see that as something that is very challenging and a little bit shocking, and maybe we get angry or frustrated, especially in social settings, and we tend to see that as that challenge or that adversity or that diagnosis as something that we have to fight or we have to battle, which is what Jessica references in her book. So I'm also curious to ask all of you, because she also talks about starting to listen to your body, right? And so listening to that voice in your head, listening to your body, and I want to know how do you all listen to your body? So you can say, I'm in touch with my body, I'm in tune with my body, I'm listening to my intuition, but I'm curious just if any of you have techniques to share along your path that you've started to learn about how to listen to that voice and how to tap into that intuition. So what techniques do you use to really get in touch, deeper in touch with your body? Stephanie said, answering my question, it took about 8 to 9 months to get diagnosed. It felt really long, but I realized it takes many people a lot longer than that. Yeah, that still feels like a long time though, right? If you're uncomfortable, especially in a high level of discomfort, for 8 to 9 months, that's a really long time. It does take people some years though, like you're saying, it does take people a very, very long time to find diagnosis. That was my case where it took me 2 or 3 years to get diagnosed with fibromyalgia, whereas celiac was a little bit more of a digestive pain that made it a little bit easier to diagnose, but the fibromyalgia was very mysterious for me. Okay, so let me know how do you tap into your body? What do you do to start to let that voice be stronger for you? So some of the things that I do, one of the strongest things I do to listen and get into my body is take baths. And I honestly think like being nude, getting naked, and like just like being there with my body, because like this may seem strange, but how often do you see your body naked, right? Like we put like for me, I wake up and I have clothes on when I wake up in the morning, and I might take a shower, I might not in the morning, and then I put clothes right back on, and I'm not like in touch with my feminine nudity, right? And so it might sound silly, but like the bath for me is like very much a time where I'm just like one with myself, and it allows me to just like really accept myself and to find this like really peaceful, quiet place in my home that feels like very sacred and like a sanctuary. And I'll light a candle, or I'll put my oils in my bath, or put salt in my bath, and that's a time for me to really listen to my body. And I think it really honestly is being nude and being able to really be in touch with my body through that. That's one way I tap in. Another way is meditation, definitely. I talk about meditation being something that allows me to hear that inner voice much stronger. That my inner voice comes out very strongly through meditation, and I get a lot of my ideas when I'm meditating, even though I'm trying to quiet my mind. Wendy says, I'm super hypersensitive, so I feel everything. Something I'm trying to utilize in a positive way, more proactively, as well as support self to be less sensitive. Yeah, so I think that you're right. This hypersensitivity, or there's this HSP, highly sensitive people, or empaths, like are powerful ass people, like goddesses, right? And you have this gift of intuition and this energetic sensitivity, both within your own energy and others' energy. And if you can learn to cultivate it and create healthy energetic boundaries, it can be something that's so powerful and helpful to you, especially as you start to listen to that voice in your head and ask yourself, what lesson is this here to teach me? What wisdom is my illness imparting on me? And Kathy says, I stay in touch with my body through movement and breath. Intuition also plays a huge part. Yeah, just listening to that voice is definitely part of it. Movement. Do you practice yoga, Kathy? I think you do. That's another way that I get in touch with my body, and it's moving your body in really mindful ways that also kind of promote this meditative state. And Kathy says, yes, the tub, that's so true. Yeah, there's something really sacred about that for me. And just like being able to have this naked moment, like just like a really vulnerable like spot with myself. And there are parts of my body that I'm still trying to love, but they're just there and they're exposed. And it's a really beautiful thing. Stephanie says, I am hypersensitive as well, can totally relate to that, but I need to cultivate it into being more helpful, as you said. Great way to phrase it, Sarah. Yeah, it can definitely be something that you use as a superpower, as that you start to use and cultivate to figure out what wisdom is there, what lesson is there, and then also just to know what your body needs. And so there's a sense of deep knowing of what your body needs to heal. Does it need rest? Can you honor that voice too? So it's like sometimes you hear it, but you don't honor it. So can you also honor that voice that's saying, yeah, all my friends are going to do this, but my body is absolutely telling me that I really don't need that right now. And that listening part is a little bit harder too. So it's like, or taking the action based on the voice. Kathy practices Pilates and also loves yoga. Yeah, good stuff. I need to try Pilates I think it's called the Reformer, right? I have never done that. I've been really into boxing lately though. I want to get like a bag for my office here. Okay, so, I also wrote down, when shit hits the fan, will you let love catch you? And I was writing that based on something she said. I don't remember what page it was on or anything, but when shit hits the fan, will you let love catch you? And so, some of these, I think this was talking about she was talking about making an opportunity for growth, letting this illness or discomfort or whatever in your life be this opportunity for growth. And she put some examples of situations that can be opportunities for growth that we see initially as these very negative, heartbreaking trauma, like pain, grief, whatever, but that are actually really powerful areas for growth. And she uses examples like divorce and heartbreak, the diagnosis of disease, failing at something, death in the family, friends, etc., going through abuse, fertility issues, job loss, injury. These are all things that we, I think, see as very, like, traumatic, but how can we then give those things love? Or I love the way she words it more specifically, which is, will you let love catch you in those circumstances? I have ginger tea tonight. I feel like I'm getting sick, so I gotta be careful. Okay, so will you let love catch you? And then I want to know too, first I want you to commit to it, because if you're not doing that right now, can you change that mindset, and can you right now, like, write into our group this verbal commitment to, I will let love catch me in these hard, adverse, challenging situations. So write that down, just that you're committing to yourself and to us, that you are going to allow love to catch you. Because I think that is difficult in itself too, because you're reading this book and maybe you're starting to understand the message that she's sending. You're starting to kind of believe it and adhere to it. But have you actually changed anything in your life yet? And I want to know that too. Based on the how many pages have we read? 50-something pages, right? Based on the 59 pages that we've read, have you changed anything in your life already? Like, 59 pages is not that many to read, but I'm curious to know, have any of you changed something in your life or in your mindset already that you're like, you know what, that no longer serves me, this new perspective does serve me, and I'm going to change this here and now? And I'm just curious to know if any of you have made those changes yet. Stephanie says, eventually I get around to a loving place, but what I'm trying to work on is shortening the time it takes to get there. Yeah, I love that. And I think she mentioned something along those lines, which was that the time to get there does get shorter. You start to practice. This becomes a practice. It doesn't become something. So that's why I was saying commit to it right now, because maybe you are like, okay, I get this new mindset. I want to be in this place, but it doesn't happen overnight. And so you might be in this more negative mindset or self-talk, which we know doesn't serve our health or our mind, our body. and you might be in that place, and it might take you a couple days to get to this positive, loving place, and then it gets to be 1 day, and then it gets to be 12 hours, and then it gets to be 3 hours, and you start to transition into that healthier, more loving, compassionate place quicker because you're practicing. So it's just this like life practice that we're constantly starting to kind of water that soil and start to cultivate that ability within ourselves to be able to change the mindset of againstness towards compassion. Kathy says, when I was first diagnosed, I lost my mojo for anything upbeat. Then self-love kicked back as I embraced acceptance. Yeah, I love that as well. So I think it's easy to, when you see something negative happens to you, and there's interesting verbiage there too, right? It's when you have the mindset of this is happening to me, then it's like, this happened to me, and this happened to me, and this happened to me. Like, you have no control over how you react as a human being, right? But we have complete control over how we react to these situations. Whether they're shitty or beautiful, like, you decide whether you want to keep yourself in that shitty place or you want to turn it into this beautiful transformational place. So I think that that is also something really interesting that Kathy, it brought up for me when you said I lost my mojo for anything upbeat, because you get stuck in that, like, this is happening to me kind of mindset. That was my experience. And it's like, this sucks. Kind of poor me. That's hard to admit sometimes, but like, you know, this was a shitty thing. Well, how can we then get out of that hole and into something that is more positive, while still honoring the darkness? And so I love that you wrote that self-love kind of kicked you back into that place of acceptance, right? So moving from this place of negative self-talk or just avoiding anything that is positive in your life and moving towards then being like, okay, you know what? This did happen, and it was hard, but I'm actually sending it love and finding acceptance and gratitude for it, so that now I can be a stronger, even stronger woman and allow joy and love to come into my life. The sun's going down and my light's getting really bright. Okay, so after your commitment, I also want to know, what opportunities have come from your disease so far? What opportunities, and this is flipping that like againstness on its head, right? Like, but what opportunities have come from your disease? It's also flipping this happened to me and I have no control over it, into this happened, but then what came out of it, right? And so I'm curious to know from you guys, what opportunities have come from your disease so far, if anything. Maybe you were diagnosed yesterday, right? So it might feel really hard to answer that question, but I'd like to know what opportunities have come from your disease so far. Stephanie, to answer your question, I've started to self-reflect on what is holding me back from embracing Jessica's message so that I can try to tackle those things. I wrote a few of the things down so I can work on them. That's beautiful. That should be everyone's homework, right? So consider what might be holding you back from that 3-day period to get into a healthier place versus 2 hours, right? And what are the thoughts in your mind that maybe are holding you back? What story have you told yourself, or what truth, false truth, have you told yourself that's keeping you there? And it sounds like you were able to write some of those down, which is really awesome. And then once you have the awareness of them in those moments of adversity and challenge and heartbreak or pain or anything come up, you're at least able to recognize them. Okay, so comment, what opportunities have come from your disease so far, if anything? And I can speak to that too, actually. So I see my several diagnoses, right, to be opportunities for self-love and self-growth, especially self-love, which you guys have talked about and commented too, and a new perspective on living life. And after that self-love kind of started to open me up, I also feel like this, both diagnosis and grief that I've been through my life, I like to explain it as this like cracking open of my soul that allowed light to get in. And that really gave me a whole different perspective on like everything, really honestly. Like I feel that cracking open changed my perspective. It didn't change me entirely as a person, but my perspective on life into a very healthy relationship with myself, and continuing to build healthy relationships and boundaries with other people. What else? What are you guys saying? Wendy says, an unexpected opportunity was that I haven't had to work since I quit my job last summer. Not great situation. However, it's the first time in 40 years that I haven't worked my butt off supporting myself and my family. It's been anxious times, but also very peaceful in the moments of relaxation and healing. Yeah. So that's a perfect example that your body may have literally been telling you that you need to slow down and take a break from work. And the illness forces you to, because your body is like, hey, you weren't listening to me and I've been telling you this message for a long time. And then it finally gets to this point where your body like literally shuts down and is like, no, you weren't listening. Now I'm going to make you take a break, which again can be challenging, probably especially in that like cycle of thoughts, right? Because you are so conditioned to working every day that this is something that you've had to kind of relearn in your life. So another opportunity could be relearning. Wendy, ooh, I like that cracking open of my soul. That's like literally, I think, physically how I felt as well. Stephanie, me too, awesome. Kathy says, the opportunity to become more compassionate, clean up my diet that much more, get off coffee 9 months ago, slow down and cultivate a meditation practice, work magic with crystals. These self-love routines outside of my daily I don't know that word, are new to me. And so that's another great example. I think I can relate to that too, in that I have new skills that I've actually developed because of disease as well. Jennifer says, definitely slowing way down. It was like I was forced to practice self-care, which is certainly a good thing. Yeah. And I think that illness also introduced me to yoga. Right? I was craving pain relief in my back and I found yoga. And then that led to a beautiful community that I'm now intertwined and connected to as well. So just being able to kind of flip that a little bit to see, okay, what opportunities have come from this disease, from this diagnosis, from this pain, from this grief, from this heartbreak? What opportunities have presented themselves? Oh, Kathy, thank you. Thank you for teaching me things today. Brushing teeth, showing, etc. Stephanie, I realized I wasn't enjoying the journey of life in the present moments. I was too focused on the next goal and then the next and then the next. You meant showering. That's kind of what I figured. Yeah. So illness provided an opportunity to become present, to enjoy that journey of life, and to slow down, right? I think that's oftentimes what disease is telling us as well, is that we just need to slow down. And sometimes we get so, there's this againstness, this avoidance of wanting to slow down and feeling like we're not worthy enough to slow down, or we shouldn't slow down, or all these little voices in our head that are not true, when our body's like, okay, now you're going to slow down. It's like when we get sick too, like with a cold or the flu or something. It's, like there's science behind it and there's germs that spread and everything. But at the same time, I think it's often our body being like, yeah, you need to take a break from life for a little while. Focus on yourself. Focus on the self-love. Just slow down. Okay. I put in page 43. Oh, don't think positively. So again, what do you guys think of that? She writes, when people say, all will be okay if you just think positively, I want to stop and ask them, are you kidding? We aren't built as humans to change the world at that level. That notion means that you have to be a certain way, think a certain way, and eliminate sadness and negative thoughts. The only way you have to be is the way you are right now. I suggest a new consideration. Love the negative, love the anger, love the sadness, love the panic attacks, love the illness, love the circumstances of your life. What do you have to lose by considering that option? So that was really powerful for me. I think that when I first read this book, that whole section really popped out to me that was like, you'd want to say like, oh, just think positive thoughts to people. And I think now I've changed as a friend, as a listener, as a someone that people come to for help, is like, no, I'm not going to tell them to just like be positive. I'm going to let them sit in their sadness and let them help them honor that, versus saying it'll be fine, right? Because it might not feel really fine. And I think you can still honor that this feels hard or sad or like dark or heavy or whatever it is, but knowing that it can change, but at the same time just being the way you are right now and honoring that moment as well. Wendy says, I like to strangle them when they say things like, think positively, oy vey. Yeah, that's what I mean. And I think that doesn't come from a negative place in people. I don't think that they say that with a negative intention. Most of the times I think it's because they don't know what else to say, right? But now that we have this deeper understanding of like being able to shift that mindset, and that knowing that the negative emotions can be something that we also honor and love, is a really wonderful way to actually explain to someone who tells you to think positive. It's like, I know you really mean well and you want me to be well because you're telling me to think positive, but have you ever considered that as humans, and human nature, we have a roller coaster, this beautiful rainbow of emotions that we're allowed to honor and be able to sit in that sadness or grief or heartbreak or pain, right? Jennifer, I struggled with this part. Positivity is what started me on my inner self journey. So you're saying that the positivity served you, so that looking at this is challenging, and it's challenging the mindset that actually helped you. Just say yes or no, or let me know if that's the right track. Kathy says, gotta have all the feels to keep it real. I love that. I do hate wallowing though. Yeah, I agree. I tend to now, because I think I used to be the person who also was I probably told people to think positively. And I think I also had that inner voice in my head of, Sarah, like, buck up and don't be sad. And why are you sad? And like, you're stronger than this. Don't sit in this sadness. And I think now I still don't like the wallowing. I don't like sitting in the sadness because it's an uncomfortable place, but that I always feel better after I honor it. And then I change from feeling really sad or fearful or whatever, and then to like some sort of act of self-love, and then towards this more positive mindset. So those acts of self-love also tend to get me out of the negative. Also baths. Baths were really, really, I didn't take baths for years. My little sister, she would take baths all the time, and I'm like, why do you take so many baths? And then I was like, that actually sounds pretty good. And I started taking baths again, and I was like, I don't know why I didn't do this for so many years. But I think it was a lack of self-love. Jennifer, yes. Okay, so I was in such a negative space that was not serving me, and a book about positivity changed me in a good way. Yeah, so I think the positive mindset is not a bad thing, but if it's a positive mindset that says that you can't ever feel negative, I think that's a different story. So the positive can serve you, but that, in my opinion, and I think what Jessica is writing too, is that if we don't think we can ever have negative feelings, that's a different story. Where did I lost you guys? Okay, Stephanie. Sometimes positivity can help, I think. Yeah, exactly. It depends where it is coming from, but I don't think it's 100% one way or the other, good or bad. I've been inspired by the positivity of others, which has helped me move from a dark to a lighter place. Yeah. So, if someone does tell you to think positive, what is your reaction? Has that helped you in the past, or has it been something where you're like, that's really fucking annoying? So let me know, because I think it probably depends on who it's coming from too, right? Whether that person, what your relationship is with that person. Jennifer, yes, baths. I never did it until last year. Amazing. Yeah, like, it's just a really sacred healing place for me. Kathy, genuine grief and sadness can lead to intimacy, nurturing, community love, helping us see how precious it all is. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. My grief did that cracking open. It did this it was like the beginning of the snowball that led me into my transformation. Okay. We've been on for a little over a half hour, so let's see where we are. Okay, so there's an exercise on page 45 that is, are you living a life of againstness? And it asks you to answer the following questions and then it asks if you answered yes, you may have parts of your life in which you are producing againstness. So let's go through these questions. 1 second. Oops. Don't want to delete your comments. Okay. So question is, do you often question the way your life is going? Yes or no? Think of it in your head or write it down. Do you feel a lot of opposition in your life with your relationships and work? Yes or no? Do you feel a lot of struggle? Yes or no? Do you often wish life were going in a different direction? Yes or no? And then comment, how many yeses did you get out of 4? And again, if you answered yes to most of these questions, so 2, 3, 4, you may have parts of your life which you're producing againstness. Can you identify what is causing the againstness? The good news is that knowing there is againstness in your life in some cases is enough to help you move through it. Knowing it will loosen its grip. Now try to flush the againstness out with some affirmations. So let me know, how do you feel that sense of againstness in your life, or are you at a very peaceful place and a place of acceptance in your life? And also a place of sending love or letting love catch you. I really like that. I just reread that part today and I was like, I love the way she words that. Stephanie, to clarify, I've been inspired by hearing the positive outlook of other illness fighters, but if healthy people just told me to be positive, I'd probably be pissed. Yeah, so exactly. I think it kind of depends on who's telling you. Is it someone who's been through autoimmune disease, struggling with autoimmune disease, and is in their own fight and trying to inspire you through their transformation and their story? Or is it someone who has really no relation or no way to relate to you, that's not even trying to relate to you and telling you to basically get over it? Like, those are very different. So how many yeses did you get in this exercise? Page 45, are you living a life of againstness? Jennifer agrees with Stephanie. Yeah, I do too. And then if you do feel like you're living a life of againstness, can you find the cause? Do you know kind of what is causing that againstness? So I'm thinking about my life right now and trying to be honest with you guys here. And I don't often question the way my life is going. But I do feel some opposition with relationships. I do feel struggle, and I don't wish life were going a different direction. I'm pretty happy with the direction life is going in, but I would say probably 2 yeses out of 4. So I think there's still some againstness in my life, and like I said, this opposition with relationships and a feeling of struggle. Like, I don't think I'm quite in that place yet that everything feels easy. Wendy, yes, still feeling the struggle with my station in life. I think that's holding me back. I guess I have a lot more work to do. Sigh. Yeah, but it's like a beautiful work, right? It's this beautiful journey that you get to go on. And again, that's a whole mindset shift in itself, which is that we allow it to be something that is transformational and not like a chore. Stephanie, yes to approximately 3 of them, not always, but many times trying to work on that. Yeah, so you have some againstness as well. Wendy says her cause of againstness is, I still want to be in control. Wowzers, I need to relax more and let life happen naturally. That's a hard behavior to change after 50 plus years. Hell yeah, I mean, I'm the control freak as well. I'm the control freak who likes to be right. And I think that humility is a beautiful lesson in itself, of knowing that you're not always right. And I've definitely honored that part of me for a while now. But being in control is still something that I felt like I always had to be in control because life was scary and I was in survival mode. So letting go of that control is also very scary, because control seemingly served me through some hard times. So I've worked with energy healers on this, and I love the way she worded it, which is that some of these things have served you in the past, which makes them harder to let go of, but it doesn't mean that you still have to carry that energy of them into the future. And so for me, letting go of control has been a hard lesson, but something that I've really started to pull out of my energy. And there's also a shift too, which I learned, which is that by letting go of control, you open yourself up to possibility in life. So when you're in this control freak kind of nature, which I can very much so relate to, you're closing yourself off to a lot of things in life by wanting to always have control. And so when you take this kind of flip on its head and you're like, oh, well, if I actually let go of control, the world of possibilities actually expands exponentially, and there's so much more that could happen good in my life if I just let go of that control, and it doesn't have to be so scary. That's just a lesson that I've been working on as well. Kathy, my againstness comes from a lack of worthiness, so I push against doing what's right for me intermittently. Hold on. So feeling worthy is definitely one of your limiting beliefs. So I would definitely start to like infuse, and I know you're in 21 days of healing too, so you can work on some of these limiting beliefs, but infusing I am worthy back into your belief system and getting rid of, like detaching the cord of I'm not worthy. Yeah, and that gets in the way too, in that you don't do things that your body needs because you don't feel worthy of them. And that can be a little bit of self-sabotage and this snowball effect that is that then our body, you aren't honoring your body in a healthy way because you don't feel worthy of that honoring, and then it becomes something that starts to fuel disease versus keep you on a healing path. Okay. So keep commenting. I love you guys' interaction today. And I want to talk about coming into cooperation with your illness. Oh, and I loved the affirmations here too, page 52, mantras for cooperation. I know illness is grace in disguise. My illness is an ally, not an enemy. I trust that wisdom is behind my illness. I am in cooperation with the circumstances of my life. I am dedicated to finding the blessings in my life. I have enough courage to do this. I really like the last one too. I have enough courage to do this. And that's something I think that may be a limiting belief for some of us, is that we're not strong enough, or we don't have the courage or the fight in us, right? And it's really about getting out of that mindset and knowing that it doesn't have to even be a fight, because it can be something that is loving. Yes, Kathy, that is your affirmation. I am worthy, I am worthy, I am worthy. You're like repeat times a million, journal it in like 5 pages of your journal, so it really ingrains in your head. Jennifer really likes these mantras too. Yeah, she's got some great mantras. Okay, so I don't remember where I wanted to ask you guys, what are some of the things you were told when you got sick? Try to figure out why I asked you that question. Yeah, okay. So, like, there's some examples here too. So what are some of the things you were told when you got sick? And it's like, everything is broken. We can only be a winner if we're healthy. We'll never be complete again. We'll never be healthy again. Like, what are some of those things that you were told to do when you got sick? And then also, it's like, you need to do X, Y, and Z to get better, and making it seem so clear-cut and crystal path when we're also this bio-individuality, which is unique. So someone might have said, oh, Sarah, you need to reduce your stress and you'll feel better, or think positively, or you look fine, or oh, it's probably just in your head, or well, if you eat this food or this supplement, it'll cure you, or that medication will help you, like, don't worry, etc. So what are some of the things that you guys have heard when you were told when you got sick, or when you were diagnosed with autoimmune, or when you have had conversations like this. Stephanie likes, I have enough courage to do this. Kathy likes affirmations. Wendy has been told, oh, it's not as bad as you think. You just need to push yourself more. It's in your head. Yep, I can relate to that one. I was told once autoimmune, always autoimmune. I don't like that. Rebecca, why are you always acting like you're sick? Are you hiding from living life? Are you fearful? Yeah, it's like we want this, right? That's, I think, something we can definitely sorry, I just read Kathy's comment. And here, use this steroid cream. Yes. Jennifer, I recently had a friend tell me her friend has Hashis. Her friend with Hashis is gluten, sugar, and alcohol free, and she's fine. Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's funny, but it's also not, because I don't think that everyone that says these things is like ill will. They're like trying to cause you harm, making you feel bad about yourself. But at the same time, they're funny because it's like, actually, I know my body very well, and like this is something I'm very fully experiencing, and that is very present and like heavy in my life. So Kathy talking about the steroid cream, which suppressed it and made my rash spread all over. Yeah, if it was like some sort of like steroidal or immunosuppressant cream, then that would make sense, because we don't want to shut off the immune system, right? We want to heal our body and get to the root of it versus just something topical. Rebecca, surely you just need to get more rest and take care of yourself, and then you'll get better. Yeah. You say, thanks. And I'm going to move on and find a community that understands a little bit more. Yeah, so, okay. So I think we can agree that we've been told some crazy things before, and that leads to other things, conclusions that you've come to. So what are some of the conclusions you've come to through your healing process? One of my conclusions has been that I didn't love myself, and that through self-love, only through self-love, was I able to really transform and listen to my inner voice and start to heal. What are some of these positive conclusions you've come to? What are some of the things that you have learned about your healing that kind of negate some of these like one-stop all like solutions maybe that other people have told you, or that like you look fine, or whatever those voices have been coming at you? And what are some of the conclusions that then you have decided and stand behind? Jennifer, or so are you going to take a drug for it? Yeah, that's like she's talking about one of the things that she's been told. Yeah, surely I already read that one. Okay, so what are some of the conclusions you've come to? So again, I think mine was very much so that self-love is a healing method in itself. Other conclusions that I've made are that my body speaks to me more than I ever knew, and that my body very much so tells me when there's a food that is not good for me versus that is nourishing to me. I think I also learned that you can still be happy and have disease, that you're a disease, you are not your disease, and that you can still find joy in life, and that hard situations don't have to always be negative situations. So I want to hear you guys' 2 cents. What do you think? These might be harder to think about, because it's like thinking about how have you already shifted your mindset, and what are some of the things that you've learned? Kathy says, me too, Sarah, and I've concluded that as long as I'm consciously journeying towards healing, I'm helping and loving myself. I've concluded that I can't bargain and gamble with my body's truths. I love that. Yeah, you can't. Like, if you do gamble, it's probably not going to turn out on the good side of things. That's what I was talking about. Like, I gambled all the time with gluten in the beginning of my diagnosis because of this disbelief or avoidance, which was that I'll be fine, I'm gonna gamble on this, so this probably doesn't have gluten in it, even though I like knew it probably had gluten in it, because it was this like sense of, I don't want to accept this. And so now the gambling is not worth it to me, absolutely not. But so that's the truth, a conclusion as well, is like I don't want to gamble with my body. Jennifer, similar conclusions to you, where my body definitely speaks to me and I have turned it into its wisdom. Stephanie says, I hadn't thought a lot about this before, trying to think on it now. Yeah, it's something that maybe you haven't considered, but I think is good to consider, is like, Kathy, you're cracking me up tonight. Kathy, bargaining and gambling equal bitch slap. Yes. Or go to the bathroom for like 5 hours straight for me. Yeah, that, or I would go into like panic attack and like huge bloat in my stomach. Not worth it. Rebecca says, me as well, Sarah. The body is amazing, and if I feed it well and listen to it, it can get well. Yeah, a lot of people are saying that they're learning that their intuition is right and is strong, and they're learning to listen to it. Wendy says, I've learned that I can quit getting mad at myself and life when I have a crash day. I need to accept it as a sick day of watching TV and let it go. Tomorrow is another day, enjoy it. Yeah, so it sounds like you still have some limiting beliefs around honoring that, though. It sounds like maybe you do make it a sick day and watch TV and let it go, but that to truly honor that place, I think it just sounds like they're still a little bit stuck. That they're still a little bit stuck of like, oh, I shouldn't have to do this, or I don't want to sit on the couch, but I feel like I have to, or whatever it is. Yeah. And not to get you mad at yourself. So if you're still getting mad at yourself, this is definitely an opportunity for growth too, is to really honor that and let it be something that is healing and nourishing for your body. Okay. Keep commenting, I'll read them here in a second, but I just wanted to wrap up here. So the last pages of chapter 6 is the meditation, the golden light meditation, and I'm just curious what you guys thought of that, because this is one that I have literally come back to like probably hundreds of times. I read this book last year. I don't remember what month it was, but so I've had a lot of time, right? And this is probably the meditation or the exercise in this book that spoke strongest to me in this very visual way, that letting that liquid gold transform diseased tissue into healing teachers was really like a visualization that I could get behind, and that I like the idea of this like warm, cozy blanket that you're wrapping yourself in that allows that this light is healing, right? So I actually use the visualization of light, which is not a novel idea, but this visualization of light in a lot of my meditations, because it's something that I find like a healing blanket, like this warm, cozy, healing energy. Cool. So what did you guys think of that meditation? Did you do it? Are you planning on doing it? Trying to find time for it? And she says to take 15 minutes to complete it. And sometimes it's hard to read a meditation and then try and sit and remember it. So that's actually part of the point of my 21 Days of Healing program that's going on right now, is that you don't have to read something and then remember it. It's that we do it all together and that I lead you through it. Kathy says, I've also concluded now that I have some momentum. It feels wonderful. I want to spend all day nurturing myself now as of a week or so ago. Everything else is trivia and I think you mean trivial, and in the way of things like this, reading, meditating, cooking, etc. right now. But I know it's about balance, just making up for lots of lost time, I guess. Yeah, so that's really wonderful. So Kathy's saying that everything else is trivial except for these healing things, these healing exercises that ultimately like your body is calling for and needing, and that it's divine timing, right? That maybe you had this perfect storm that your body was like, okay, you need to stop and listen, and now I'm going to make you read and meditate and cook and listen to Sarah talk on Sunday nights. But careful too that you're not feeling like that lost time is something that you then put a negative energy around. So I'd just be careful with that you're seeing this as divine timing and that it's happening now versus 10 years ago for a reason. Rebecca is trying to find time for the golden light meditation. Kathy loves the cozy golden oozing light melting down on me. It was great. Yeah, it's a very strong visualization for me. So Jennifer, I need to do the meditation during my bath tomorrow. That's a beautiful time to do it, as I mentioned in the beginning of our discussion. Stephanie, I'm trying to learn that my life with illness is still on the path. For such a long time, I felt that I was stuck and not moving forward off the path, but I'm trying to reframe and shift my mindset and realize that I'm on the path. Yeah, you are, and it's going to be bumpy. It's not going to be perfect. We're all imperfectly perfect, but I think that you are here and you are showing up and you're reading this book and you're nourishing your soul through educating yourself and hopefully taking time to do some of the exercises. But try the golden light too and see how that feels in your body. Kathy, thank you, divine timing. Yeah, it is. It's really divine timing. And we have to find gratitude too, I think, in the path that led us here. However long or short that was. All right, ladies, I don't want to take up your whole Sunday night, so let's just end with an affirmation that we can all type in and repeat through the next week, which is, I just picked one of hers. If there's a one that you want but more than this, then definitely choose that for yourself, but I just chose, I appreciate the struggle in my life, because I think that's a strong lesson that came out of these two chapters, is I appreciate the struggle in my life. So make it an oath by commenting and putting it set in stone in words out in the internet and with us. But I appreciate the struggle in my life, or post it on Instagram or whatever. But I appreciate the struggle in my life, and let that be your mantra and that kind of like guidepost for you this week when you do notice that you're having struggles around mindset with illness or symptoms of your disease, and come back to that mantra to help center you. I appreciate this struggle. I appreciate this bloat. I appreciate this pain in my fingers because X, Y, and Z. And that's the hard part to fill in that we're going to keep working on together is I appreciate this. I love this. I'm sending this love. I know I'm supported because X, Y, and Z. And those are the amazing lessons that we start to learn. Yeah, thanks Jennifer for putting it in there. I appreciate the struggle in my life. Kathy, I appreciate the struggle in my life. It presents opportunity. Yeah, I love it. Stephanie, I appreciate the struggle in my life. Amen, sisters. Okay, I gotta go, but happy Sunday, and I will see you guys again next Sunday at same time, 5 p.m. Mountain. Okay, love you.